What's up, guys? This is Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, and the broader markets. I'm going to talk about some key levels to watch for as time goes on, what you should be watching for Tesla. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link that's down below, or use my QR code right here to sign up. Moomoo is an amazing global brokerage with many exclusive offers. If you sign up and deposit $100, you're going to get $20 of free Nvidia stock. If you deposit $2,000, you're going to get $50 worth of Nvidia. Deposits $10,000 to get $300 worth of the stock, or deposit $50,000 to get $1,000 of free Nvidia. The offer ends very soon, so please check out my link down below to sign up. There's only 3 days left for this offer. Anyways, as far as Tesla's going, we're very choppy right now during the pre-market. Tesla's been stuck between a little bit under this 449 area, and our support has been around like 444. We're basically just going back and forth for now, so I do expect this to be very tight. And then Tesla will look for a big move to the upside if we get a nice breakout, or we're going to turn right back down once this breaks. We're going to be looking for a big move, in my personal opinion, in one of these directions. And we have to wait and see which way we break depending on our news, depending on all these different factors. There was news that came out that Tesla's US sales have dropped to a near 4-year low in November, despite their rollouts to make cheaper models. Once again, we're seeing their US sales dropping. The numbers basically show us that we saw their sales down about 23% to about a little bit under 40,000 vehicles. It used to be at 51,500 a year earlier during this time. So it just shows that their sales have weakened. And then on top of this, with what's going on, we're seeing weakness in Europe and in the US, whereas the Chinese sales were actually a little bit stronger. So keep that in mind. That's what's affecting Tesla right now. When it comes to our economic calendar, we have a bunch of Fed speakers like Paulson, Hammock, and a few more. So we'll see what that leads to, but nothing too significant. And then we're going to see what happens with a lot of these AI stocks. A lot of them saw some downside after some fears reemerged, but then we're going to see if they end up getting some kind of bounces or not. Besides that, there's nothing else that's too significant on the news. Costco had their earnings, and they did not do too poorly. They were kind of like in the middle to me, but they did beat on the majority of things. So good job by Costco. Finally, when it comes to our earnings, we had a little, not earnings, our options chain, excuse me. We have a little bit over 300,000 of these calls expiring. Then we also have about 1.48 million puts expiring. This puts the put to call option ratio at 4.47 with max pain at 680. This will change as time goes on. There are lots of puts expiring. So with all the option expirations, we do tend to see a lot of chop on Fridays. That is what typically happens. So Tesla does look very choppy. It looks like it's just going to trade sideways between these levels for now. And we're going to see if Tesla could eventually break up or break down depending on how it goes. But I do expect a very, very big move in one of these directions once we truly break out. So for now, we are very choppy, very sideways on Tesla, but this is just because it's getting ready for a very big move, and that could cause a lot of volatility. On top of that, I also recommend just kind of like paying attention to the news in case something very big comes out for Tesla. Tesla is a very news dependent stock, and it does have a tendency of making big moves depending on what we're seeing. So keep that in mind for Tesla. For other tickers, we have SPY. This is showing signs of higher volatility for the shorter term. With the wick that formed here, it does look like SPY is attempting to climb a bit higher, and we could try to go for all-time highs in the low 690s. Then we might turn back down and consolidate like this. We could turn back down this range and consolidate. As we go higher, SPY is forming a triple and quadruple bearish divergence, which suggests that there is a risk of this rejecting, but we need to lose 685 to really turn down. And as of right now, it looks like we're going to see a lot of chop like this. We go close to all-time highs and chop around. That's what I'm anticipating, unless we lose 685 and 682. If 682 fails, this we're really bearish, and if 685 fails, there's going to be a risk of testing 682. But I think we kind of push a bit and consolidate, at least for the time being, as the most probable outcome. On the QQQ, it also has kind of like an inverse head and shoulders right here that's still possible to pan out. And then look at SPY, which is making new all-time highs, and look at the QQQ, which is making a lower high, signifying that there is a divergence between these stocks. I think that we have kind of like a bearish divergence on the QQQ. We need to try to break out past 630 to be bullish. As we try to push, we just keep on rejecting. Notice that every time we're pumping, we're just kind of chopping around and rejecting. And there is a risk of us returning to like 618 or below like this for some downside on the QQQ. I do think we could pop upon open and consolidate in the low, or in the mid 620s, like around 625, give or take like 2 to 3 points. And then we're going to see if we turn down after that. On the IWM, we basically have 260s our resistance. So we're going to see if that breaks. If it doesn't, we could turn back down towards 255. On ES, we're also trading sideways. We have 6900 as our main support, and then 69.25 as our resistance. We could push here and consolidate, and we're going to see if we turn back down or not. On NQ, we're trying to push a little bit higher, just like ES. 25,680 could be tested, but then I think we consolidate. I think there's going to be a lot of sideways price action. Bitcoin's also very sideways, although it has a slight risk of dipping to 91,630. It's still trading sideways. And once again, Tesla looks very, very sideways in the pre-market. It's not really moving. So I do expect a lot of chop. We're going to see which way we end up breaking. Nvda basically has sort of like a similar head and shoulders like pattern. That also gives it risk of kind of like turning back down. So keep that in mind, at least for Nvidia stock. In case we do get a rejection and dip back down towards that 178 area, that's going to be very key for how we end up moving. So be patient, and we'll have to see what happens, especially as time goes on. I also want to note that we're going to be very mindful of an increase in volatility once we start breaking some key levels. Sorry, I think my chart kind of froze for a second. Sorry about that, guys. I want to see Nvidia break 184 to be bullish. If not, we could be turning back down to 178. I do think that this is at risk of rejecting here, and it might be declining. Um, for Aapl, we're consolidating. We could be looking for a push back up towards 278, and we'll see if we turn back down. We're still trading sideways as well here. We could be pushing for 278 to 280, and then I think we could turn after that. But overall, Aapl is very choppy. For a few more tickers, we have Palantir, which is consolidating, might be dipping to 183.5, and we'll see if we bounce. AMD is consolidating. We're stuck between 220 and 218. Might push for 220, but I see a lot of sideways price action. On Coinbase, we're trying to push as long as we're above 271. We're looking for 2.5 and 275. Amazon's looking more bullish. As long as we're above 230, we could be looking for 232. And then Meta is also consolidating. We're stuck between 652 and 647. I think this is consolidating, but there is some upside potential for 655. Google's looking for 316 as our resistance, and then Microsoft is going to be favoring a rejection. As we're below our EMAs, we need to get back above 483 and 485. If not, we could be dipping back down towards 478. Last but not least, the VIX is dipping. Yes, but the thing is, since the year started, every time we're in the 14s, the VIX does bounce big time. So that does signify that even though the market's trying to push right now, there is some risk that there is a triple and quadruple bearish divergence on SPY, and there is a divergence between SPY and the QQQ, which could be indicative of some downside that could be coming next week. It's a possibility, so we'll see how it goes, and that could have an effect on Tesla. For now, we'll see what Tesla does if we break up or down. I'd like to see us break the 460s to be really bullish, or lose 435 to be more bearish. I think we consolidate for now, and then we're going to see which way we break, if we get back above 450 to push towards this resistance, or if we turn back down. Otherwise, just be very patient. I thank you all so much for listening, and peace out.